All right, so chosen submission. Up until this point, you have seen who has been ruling your life. You've been seeing your functional lords, your undercover lords, your ordered affection, and first attention, right? We've gone through so many things up until this point. Today, we're going to talk about something new. In this video, you're going to possibly notice resistance, and this is where we're going to be talking about chosen submission and how that plays when there is resistance. Okay, and this isn't necessarily rebellion or lack of love. We're going to talk about a few concepts and principles as to why resistance happens within us when it's actually time to follow through on all of the things that we say. We say we want to know Jesus as bridegroom. We say we want God's will. We want to love him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. We want to give him his glory, give him what he deserves. We want to live lives that show that he truly is worthy and wonderful, and we want him when we want to be known by him and we want to know him. But why then, with all of this great desire that we have, why do we still have resistance when it's time to follow through and put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, or to cash in on the checks that we have written by our words? And so this lesson is about answering one question: what do I do when I don't feel like obeying what I already decided? So if I already decided, no matter what, I'm going to always deny myself, pick up my cross, and follow him. When it's time for me to do that, what will I do when I don't feel like doing that? When we make these choices ahead of time, it doesn't make the process easier, but it does simplify it. And it brings us back to the moment when we said, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I am completely available to him, that my heart is his. Whatever part that I play in knowing Jesus as bridegroom, I'm going to do my part. And whatever he says, if anyone desires to come after me, then let that person deny themselves, pick up their cross and follow him. I'm going to do my part then. He says, I have a part. Deny myself, pick up my cross, and follow him. So what do I do when I don't feel like denying myself? When I actually want something else more than I want him? What will I do when I don't feel like obeying him? When I don't feel like following through with what I know to be my heart's desire and his heart's desire? So let's talk about that and how submission works in real life. And so the principle of chosen submission is this: that submission is only real when it is intentionally chosen and lived out. So in simple terms, we cannot say that we're submitted to the Lord if we never do so with our actions, right? I'm sure I'll probably say this later on, but Jesus says, "Why do you call me Lord when you do not do what I say?" Right? We've gone through that verse so many times in different lessons so far. Why do you call me Lord when you do not do what I say? And that's Yeshua saying, you're not submitted to me, therefore you cannot call me Lord. I'm asking you now to think. You call me Lord, but then you don't submit. Why? How do you do that? Does that make sense? And so in simple terms, chosen submission is this: that you obey because you decided to. That I'm saying I'm going to obey him because I've decided that he is my Lord and I'm going to obey him. And by virtue, by standard, if someone is your Lord or your master and you are their slave, their servant, what do? You obey, you submit. And this is kind of like sidetracking, but Paul, when you read his letters, and he calls himself a bondservant of Jesus, what he's saying there is that his will is completely given over to the will of his master. And really, in the Greek, it actually says bond slave. He's a slave to Yeshua. And he says this bond slave is what they call the term whenever a slave decided they had the freedom to go anywhere, but they decided they wanted to remain enslaved to their master because they loved their master. And so these bond slaves said, I will give my will over for your will, and my life is completely for your will, for whatever you desire. That is what the goal is. The goal is that our lives and our hearts would demonstrate that our hearts and everything about us is given up to his heart and his desires, and that we truly live as bond slaves to his will, that whatever he wants, we live for and we do. And so you obey because you decided to. You don't do it because it feels good. Like, you're not obeying because it feels good. You obey regardless of whether it feels good or not. And you don't wait until the moment feels right. You obey no matter what. And I'm saying these, it's easier said than done because I've lived it out. So I'm saying it and I know how hard it is. But at the end of the day, chosen submission means that you do not renegotiate settled decisions. You've made your decision. Now it's time to cash on the check. You do not wait for your emotions to agree. You, if you will, you pummel through those emotions no matter what. And you follow through based on your consent. Like, you gave your consent. You said, I will do this. And this matters because emotions are unstable. Right now, you may feel like, oh man, I would do anything to know Jesus as bridegroom, and that just to live with an intentional awareness of his presence, to feel his love, to wake up to him every day, to spend time with him, to know that I am with him all the time, and no matter what, I can experience his presence. I can speak to him. I hear him clearly. I would do anything. But then the moment comes for you to do something and you're resistant. Emotions are unstable. And we cannot wait until we feel like doing something. Okay, but once you give your consent and you say, I want to do that, that's it. That it's just, signed, sealed, delivered. There's no going back. So the primary confusion that I'm going to address is that many women believe that if I don't feel peace, I shouldn't obey. And oh my, that is such a great lie and deception, that you think that feeling peace should determine whether you obey. No, whatever he says, you obey. It doesn't matter. Another lie is that if I feel resistance, I should wait. Again, that kind of goes along the lines of this other thing that just came to my mind, which is, if things are hard, then it's probably not God's will. Or if it's not easy for me to obtain, it's probably not God's will. That is false, because everything is not easily obtained and there will always be resistance. And if you fall back because of resistance, then you won't obtain all that God wants you to. So, for instance, in James 1, James writes that trials, to rejoice in trials, because these things, while they are hard, they are forming in you character, making you perfect, complete, and lacking nothing. Can you imagine? The trials is the tool that God uses to make you more like Christ. And then Peter writes as well. He says, don't think that it's strange that you are enduring in these fiery trials. Like, he's saying that it's testing your faith and proving that your faith is worth more than precious gold. I mean, that is amazing. All that to say that resistance is not the determining factor as to whether God wants something or not. Because if we look at the life of Jesus, God in the flesh, God in human form, we see his life was full of trials. And I let me rephrase, not his life, the 3 years of his ministry that we see in scripture, full of trials, full of trials. He gets baptized, and immediately the Spirit of God drives him into the wilderness where he's tested. He fasts for 40 days and then he's tested. Then after that, you would think, oh, it's easy sailing. He comes out of the wilderness full of the power of God. Everything should be a-okay. But no, when we read the scriptures, we see scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees coming at him, the religious leaders trying to kill him, and they eventually do. That that is resistance. And he is perfect, following God's will, did everything that his father wanted him to do, but yet he had resistance. Okay. Lastly, another thing that women believe is that if I force myself, that's not relational. Like, I shouldn't have to force myself to do anything. It should just naturally occur. But the reason why that's a lie is because If you do what you've always done, then you'll get the results that you've always gotten. So if your relationship with Jesus is not where you want it to be, you have to force yourself and make yourself do something differently that will produce results that you want. So if I want to be closer to Jesus, that means I'm going to force myself when I don't feel like getting up a little bit earlier, when I don't feel like giving up this pleasure or this activity or what have you. I'm going to give that up in exchange for spending time with him. When I don't feel like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do this because I want him. And by me demonstrating that and forcing myself to do something that I do not want, it is a demonstration that he matters more than my feelings. Okay, so the thing is that those things sound spiritual, but they are extremely dangerous. And so the revelation, the core revelation of this lesson is that obedience cannot depend on how you feel. It cannot depend on how you feel. And as much as I'm talking to you, I am talking to me. Obedience cannot determine how we feel. Okay? We have to do whatever we say we're going to do and whatever God says he wants us to do. Because when we let our emotions determine what we do, we won't get anywhere far with God. We will not get anywhere far with God. Because then that is our Lord. That is our functioning Lord, is our feelings. They are the determining factor. Okay, chosen submission is where Jesus leads, you follow, and feelings will respond later. All of that stuff will get worked out later as you continue to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him. You will begin to transform, and the things that you once hated, you'd be like, I can't believe I hated doing this before. I really love it. And I remember it was hard and my feelings were not in it, but he changed me as I continued to respond to him and truly let him lead. And I followed him despite how I felt. And so Luke 9:23, I said this already. Jesus says, it's not here, but he says, if anyone desires to come after me, right? But this one says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily. Daily, y'all. Every day there is a cross to pick up. Every day there are opportunities for you to deny yourself. And if you've thought, really? Yes, yes. Ask the Lord to open up your eyes because you may go throughout your day not denying yourself. That is a problem. It's a big problem. Okay? Every day there is an opportunity to deny yourself, to pick up your cross and follow him. Okay? John 14:15, Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Love is shown through follow through, not based on how you feel. In Hebrews 12:11, it says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Painful. Oh my goodness. Discipline is painful. But later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So there's discipline that God gives to us as a gift that is painful. But through it, we get a harvest of righteousness and peace. Peace comes after. Your feelings will align after. But it's painful now. It will be painful now. And Jesus is not asking you to ignore your emotions. He's asking you to not submit to them, to not make your emotions your functional Lord. If you want to follow him and he truly is Lord, then he's saying, there's only one master. There's only one Lord. It's me, not your feelings, not your emotions. He knows that feeling, waiting to feel ready, that will never come. That won't produce anything that he wants. That hesitation strengthens resistance. I have noticed this, that the more that I hesitate, the more that I think more on the things that I don't want or fear or what have you, the more resistance I have. And there have been so many times that I'm in situations that I'm like, I need to stop thinking about whatever it is that I'm thinking about and just do whatever it is he wants me to do. Like I need to just go for it. And it has been definitely better for me to just cut straight to the chase, stop thinking about whatever I want to think about or whatever is holding me back, because I do recognize that I have more resistance the more that I stay focused on the thoughts of, I don't want this, or why do I have to do this next, and the next thing you know, you're like literally down the hill of negative thoughts and things that are not glorifying to the Lord. And Jesus knows that consistency forms trust. The more that we are consistent with Him, the more that we allow ourselves to have more time and more occurrences with Him, that trust will strengthen and trust will be established, strengthened, and it will grow. So we need to be consistent. And so during the reflection time now, because you just received, now it's time to reflect on what does this confront, confirm, or require. So in Exodus 16, the Israelites were led into the wilderness, and in the wilderness they gathered manna daily except for Saturday. Some people did not feel like following God. So some people, the Lord said, don't take more than you need. And He says, do not save it past the time. You must eat it daily. Guess what some people did? They did not follow His instructions. They did what they thought was right. They did what they felt was right, what they wanted to do, and they reaped the consequences. Okay? In Gethsemane, Jesus demonstrates this perfectly, where He knows what's going to happen. He knows full well what is about to take place. He does not want to go through with it. And rightfully so. It's not His punishment. It's not His sin. It's not His responsibility. But here's where He demonstrated chosen submission. In Hebrews, what is that? Hebrews 10. It is written that the Son said to the Father that sacrifices and offerings did not please His Father, but a body He has prepared for Him. So He says, look, it's been written of me, I will go and do your will. So Jesus chose to submit before He even took on flesh. So now He's in the garden, and now He has to cash on the check that He wrote way before they even said, let there be, and form the earth. The Son said, I will do your will. So now here He is in the flesh, and He says the same thing. I don't want to do this, but nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. He didn't feel like it, but He did not allow His feelings to determine what He did. He said, I live for my Father. I will do His will. This is what I came to do. He chose to submit. He did not wait for His feelings to catch up. He did not allow His feelings to dictate what He did and did not do. And so false beliefs, right? You may have believed, if I don't feel like I should do it, I shouldn't do it. Resistance means that I'm doing it wrong. If I feel like there's something fighting me, I shouldn't do it. Or obedience without desire is legalism. That one. Obedience without desire is legalism. So many people will think that. And that is a lie. These are all lies. That waiting protects relationship. Essentially just saying like, I should wait until I feel like I should do it because I feel like that would be beneficial for the relationship. It won't. It won't. It won't. Here's the thing. Again, if you want different results, you do something differently. If what you were doing was working, you would know Jesus as bridegroom, you wouldn't be watching this video. So if you believe any of these things, just know that they're false. Those are not the right beliefs. They're not. Resistance does not mean you're doing it wrong. Resistance means that your flesh or the devil is coming against you, and now you're fighting against that. That's what that means. Or there are trials and tribulations in your life that the Lord is using to make you more like Christ. But it doesn't mean that you should stop and not move forward. So an old belief that you may have is that I will obey when it feels right. But no, the new belief you need to have is that I obey because I already chose Jesus as my Lord. Or you may think that that obedience is confirmed by emotion. No, no. Obedience often trains your emotions because you are not being led by your emotions. Now you are leading your emotions. You are saying, I don't care what you're doing. You're in the back seat. Obedience takes the front seat, the driver's seat. An old belief that you may have is that resistance means stop. That if I have resistance, I should just stop. But no, resistance is often where formation begins, where you begin to be formed by the Lord. And so, how will you respond? What will you do differently? The bridegroom is known through coming back again and again. This is a repeated coming back to him and being with him and staying present, even when it feels ordinary, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Staying present with him and choosing to be available, not waiting to feel inspired. That means always coming to him and not waiting to be like, oh, I feel like being with Jesus now. No, no, no. Going to him and saying, Lord, I don't even feel like being here, but I choose you. I really want to do X, Y, and Z. I want to go out. I want to have this instead. Or my mind is so focused on this goal or this problem or this person, but I'm going to set my mind on you. Not every time that you get with the Lord does it need to be some powerful encounter. No, it's the fact that every time that you are meeting with him, you are training your heart to rely only on him, to grow your roots deep into his love, making him your sole desire and your foundation and all that you need. And so when you begin to do this, you are going to see that you're going to form reliability in him, that you know that he is the one that you can rely on and that he knows that you are loyal to him. Steadiness, steadfastness, no matter what, you're going to show up in spiritual strength because a bride is not formed by intensity. So many people think, again, I said this in an earlier lesson, people think that intensity is what will make fruit grow. But no, consistency is what makes it grow. Follow through, always coming through. Chosen submission looks like showing up when the alarm goes off. So if the alarm goes off and I'm supposed to pray, go and pray. I'm just going to go. Honoring what you already scheduled. Honoring him and telling him, like, I already did this. Just like you would honor anything else. If you had a doctor's appointment, you were meeting with a friend, you had a business meeting, whatever, you got to go to work, like, you would honor those things. Refusing to renegotiate daily decisions. So when things happen in your day, choosing to say, no, I'm not going to renegotiate. Like, I'm going to stick with what I already decided. And following through even when desire is low. So you may already know, okay, I wake up and I pray at 5 a.m., right? But it's like, oh, I'd rather sleep. Or I'd rather stay up late and not wake up early. I don't want to do that anymore, even though I used to wake up at 5 a.m. Now all of a sudden I don't feel like waking up at 5 a.m. And it's saying I'm going to do it anyways. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to let my feelings dictate what I do. And for me, I had resistance in so many different areas where especially when it came to making decisions. Like, I know I really, really wanted the Lord's will, and a lot of things came easy for me to just give up, and a lot of things were very, very hard. I drowned myself in so much Bible and so much knowing about him, spending time talking about him, listening to sermons about him, just trying to reorient my whole life and my mind around Jesus. And even with that, before I saw any kind of growth, before there was anything, I mean there was just so much resistance because my mind and my feelings, I was a person who I was dictated by what I felt. If I did not feel, then I would not do. And it was very hard to do anything that I did not feel like doing. And if I didn't feel like doing it, I didn't do it. I just did not do it. And so there were certain things that just felt wrong, that just was like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I have to do this? And even things where I'm just like, okay, I guess this is what I'm going to do, and obeying the Lord no matter what. It took me time to obey him no matter what. And I would spend so much time just praying of just like, Lord, I want to feel what you want me to feel. I want to think what you want me to think. I want to see things the way you want to see things, the way that you see things rather. And honestly, for so long, you're probably like, I feel like 99% of the women who I meet, and probably 100%, honestly, 100% of the women that I meet and I talk to, and I have the chance to even mentor, a lot of them already know about God's presence. They already know about feeling God's presence. A lot of them have already felt God's presence, and they're aware of that, and they have that in their mind. For me, I did not have that in my mind. I did not have the experience of God's presence. I was very ignorant. Even though people said God's presence, I had no idea what that even meant. I didn't know that was something experiential. And so I spent many days from January 2020 to August 2020 seeking the Lord and just wanting him and just wanting to be with him, wanting to please him. Again, I said these words, but I don't think I really understood what they meant in totality. And I would say even now I know a little bit more, but I wouldn't say like I still know in totality. But here's what I will say. I will say that it took me, I was saying that, all that to say that you are in a greater position. For me, I remember just, I started on the journey of like, I want to put Jesus first, and I was willing to do that no matter what. I didn't know really what that looked like, but you have an advantage because you have tasted and seen his goodness and his presence. I did not. So I was waking up every day, spending hours in prayer and all of these things, not knowing really what I was going for and what does that even mean to put him first? What does it mean to hear God's voice? I didn't know any of those things in January of 2020. I didn't even know that God spoke to me. And so the diligence to follow through no matter what I felt. I didn't know what I was going for. I just knew that that as I look back now, I could see I was growing. At the time, I wouldn't say I knew I was growing. I was experiencing different spiritual things, but I didn't experience God's presence. And I was not in love with Jesus at all. So he asked me to do many things that I was not willing to do, but I did them anyways, that I did not feel to do. I did them anyways. And I can look back and say it was the most scariest time of my life to trust him and to do whatever he wanted me to do despite it not making sense to me. And I allowed my feelings to dictate so many different decisions, and but still coming back to him every day. I want to be with you. I just want to know you. The scriptures say that I can dwell in your presence. I don't know what that means, but I want to. And knowing that he came through, that intimacy for me deepened through follow through every day, until one day it's like the heavens broke open, if you will, and he poured I won't say all of his love, but he poured so much love into me that it changed my life. And this is how I'm here today. And he continues to fill me with his love and presence. And so that that is chosen submission, where no matter what, I'm choosing him always, all the time. It may not look like it's immediate on the outside, and it may not be immediate at all, but he will have all of me. And that is what I'm going to do. And so, where will this show up in your life? So the formation practice is to basically implement this into your schedule. Like, you have to just decide, what are you going to do and when are you going to do it? And then following through. Because if you don't, if your obedience stays dictated by your emotions, then everything will collapse, everything will fall apart. You will continue to get the same results that you have now, and your emotions will be your functional Lord. Jesus will not be your Lord. And it's not because you don't love him, it's because you've decided. I want you to know this, that even your lack of decision is making a decision. And so choosing to submit to Jesus and following through demonstrates your true submission, that you have chosen to submit to Him and you intentionally live it out every day. By doing that and not allowing your feelings to take precedence and to be Lord, in that way you demonstrate that He truly is Lord, and the fruit that you will receive from that is going to be beautiful.